Hey, it's Mike from Apollo here, and we are tackling one big question today. How do we grow predictably? Now, this question is hard enough when you kind of frame it as how do we grow? But when you say predictably at the end there, you really do reveal the scale of the challenge. So I wanted to show you 15 tests to help you improve your chances of succeeding in an effort to answer this question. How do we grow predictably? I've got lots of notes around these 15 tests that I want to share with you. And I really want to try and reveal to you the patterns that I continuously see with startups, with founders, with growth companies when they do try and answer this question. So we're looking here at b2bgrowthbooks.com. Go check it out. It's all free. Everything you see you can use at no charge. And what it does is it will reveal where you're at and how you might improve where you are with growth, sales, marketing, customer success, those sort of thematics. So you run it an evaluator and you get a score back. And that score is going to reveal common challenges. Some things here that you will no doubt relate to. Growth depends on an individual effort or some heroics. Marketing and sales operate as disconnected activities. You know, that commonly looks like, hey, does the marketing team actually deliver a decent marketing qualified lead to sales, or is a lot of time wasters? Pipeline fluctuation and nobody's really sure what's going on, and results cannot be repeated. This is all a way of saying that you don't really have a growth system. You don't have an engine. It's not a repeatable, scalable motion. So what I'm going to do is reveal to you that once you do that free evaluation, the things that you can do off the back of it. So the first evaluator is about your demand. So this is very much top of the funnel, early stage. Now, what we're going to do is talk about what goes on in this sort of demand reality at the top of the funnel, and then move on to some critical things that you can test for and improve against using this tool. So the pattern here is for us going through this idea of problem and solution, the persona of the customer being truly identified by them. So this means, like, does the customer really know who they are? Do they identify with the problem and the solution? And it's all a way of saying, are we solving a problem worth solving? This is really a top of funnel conversation, because anything that happens mid or lower funnel doesn't really matter if you're not solving the right thing. So let's actually get into the first of 5 tests that you can do. Once you've kind of had your evaluation, you can test these, and these will lead to you improving your demand top of funnel. Okay, ICP self-recognition. So this little operator will help you really get to the bottom of this. And it's all about, does your buyer see themselves as the customer for this solution? Do they identify with the pain relievers and the gain creators and hopefully the jobs to be done that you've actually outlined for this product or service? So this is a way of saying, does the customer go, oh my gosh, yes, that is the pain I experience. Those are the needs I have. Yeah, this is the mission I'm on. These are the things that keep me up at night. Do they relate to how you present them? Because if they see themselves, and this is a great framework for this called the story brand framework, where you really kind of set up the customer or the prospect as the hero. You're there for them. You're in service of them. Your product is not the hero. Your company is not the hero. It's your customer. So this operator will really help you with this. So this is test number 1. You know, does the buyer recognize themselves? Very, very important. Because could you imagine anything else we're going to talk about around creating predictable growth if the customer doesn't see themselves in the problem solution, in the framing of the pains and the gains? Then you're pretty much toast. So that's number 1. Make sure your customer sees themselves as the prospect, that they relate to pains, gains, jobs to be done. Now, another big one, B2B or B2C here, is the trigger event validation. And this is going to the heart of, is there an event that causes the buyer to actively seek a solution? So for example, if a company is going through a certain stage, opening a new office, that could be a trigger event in B2B. New regulation might be another one. Or a really simple one is back to school or Christmas in B2C land. Well, hey, that is a trigger event. So what you want to identify is a really nice trigger event that sparks the customer seeing themselves in need of something. Oh my gosh, yeah, how are we going to solve for that? You really want to test for that, because we know those trigger events will lead to this next one, which is urgency. So here's the first two tests. Make sure the customer sees themselves. Make sure you've got a real trigger event. And this next one is urgency. What you're looking for with this test is to determine that you can frame a level of urgency from the customer. Some of those that I mentioned around the trigger event are beautiful, because what they actually do is they create a natural timeline. If you remember Y2K, by the end of the year of 1999, there was going to be this big moment that created this natural urgency. And what you'll notice with regulation coming in, that's a natural urgency. Back to school, natural urgency. Kids are back to school by this date. So you really want to make sure that you're going to build a whole set of these demand factors: self-recognition, trigger event, and urgency. So it's the first three tests. Now, something that's quite natural for startups is a dependency on the founder. What you want to do is this fourth one here. You want to create a test where you can see if you can remove the founder or the CEO from your offering. Can you still create demand? Can you still grow? Because as you'll notice, my whole thing is about growth systems, and we don't want to be kind of really relying on just one individual to do 80% of the sales. So this is the fourth test. The fifth test is the cold recognition. Do your customers, cold buyers, without any priming, do they truly identify with the problem as you present it? So this is not do they recognize themselves, that's an early one. This is do they truly see the problem? That's your first 5 tests. Okay, so now we have framed 5 tests for demand reality. Where are you truly at? So we're on a quest, just to remind you, to go back to this question, how do we grow predictably? Now we want to move into conversion clarity. So this is naturally getting further down the funnel. What do we mean by that? You've had some engagement. They are starting to build some level of trust, understanding. They are seeing themselves. They are starting to move into this consideration and transaction phase. What you really want to be able to do is conduct another set. This is 5 more tests that you can do. It's around conversion clarity that are going to help you grow predictably. Okay, so here is the first one. Value articulation operator. This test, so you can click on these little run operators and you can actually do the test and you can come back and improve your growth scores. But this value articulation is really important. Does the customer prospect naturally see this being cheaper, better, faster? Is it self-evident? It could be that you have these attributes, but it is not self-evident. So then, whilst you know you've got a fit, the customer doesn't. And they just simply won't spend the time, money, and effort to figure it out. It's got to be self-evident. So this test is really important. It really exposes true, instantly recognizable value. Very helpful for creating conversion. Your next one, number 2 within conversion clarity, is message consistency. What you will often see is you'll talk about simplicity and speed and all these beautiful things at the top of the funnel, and then we'll get into the middle of the funnel, we'll get to the moment of truth where they purchase and you start talking about price as your big benefit. What you want to do is you want to be consistent, not only in the top and the middle of the funnel, but actually in the bottom of the funnel, even into your referral and your advocacy that you want to get. You want to get those net promoter scores. You want a through line of thematics, of conversations threads where customers perceive your value. Number 3 in conversion clarity is proof. It's funny, I'm working on a project right now where they need a lot of proof to work with a large financial institution. So you might have social proof, you might have pilot proof, customer success proof. You really need to bring to surface in a way that your prospective buyers can see the value and see the evidence that makes them feel a level of trust in your capability. So this is the third thing that can help your conversion. Number 4, the stall pattern. Okay, so is there a consistent stall theme? Is there a choke point that seems to happen at the same stage due to some friction? So you might see things tend to slow down when you do an ROI evaluator, or you do some sort of diagnostic, or some personalization for them, or post-demo, or pre-demo, all those sorts of things. You want to measure your funnel, and then you want to identify where those stall points are. And, the reality is on this 5th test for conversion is people might drop off completely. So if your buyers are dropping off completely, this is really about cohort analysis and trying to figure out what characteristics do they share and why they're dropping out of the process, because that will naturally help you go, okay, well, how might we remedy this kind of blockage or, in fact, complete drop-off? So we've done 5 for demand, 5 for conversion clarity. Let's now head over to the revenue engine. This is bottom of the funnel. This is like all the suggestion and evidence for a bigger scaling business. All the answers lay here. You can do a lot of hard work here. I traditionally find that everyone is so busy with creating demand and conversion. This is like the forgotten part of growth, the revenue engine, what happens when they're in your system. So let's have a look here at the 5 tests you can do. This is the last 5 of the total 15 tests. You can run all of these for free at b2bgrowthbooks.com. Okay, so you're trying to create a sustainable, repeatable system of revenue growth, the engine. First thing is your pricing acceptance. What you want to do is reveal without discount, without negotiation, without all the fancy bespoke tailoring. Does a customer see the price and accept? And if so, where does the resistance kick in? This is test number 1 for your revenue engine. Because if you remove pricing friction, do some great price discovery, find out what really works, then you'll see that these other ones are really unlocking all those scale characteristics. Sales cycle predictability. Well, we're going to look here particularly at this second one, is the time length, and can you predict revenue, cash in the bank even, from your sales cycle. When you can actually start to see that, it really affords you the opportunity to do things like cost-benefit analysis, because you can see that there's a predictable nature in terms of time, that you can see volume of sales coming in, so you can start to play with your levers, like more inputs get you more outputs. And when you have that predictability in sales, that's when the growth engine really takes off. Deal path separation. So now we're going to see, this is quite a nuanced, quite a complex one. This is basically, you might have a golden path where some deals just shoot through, and what you want to ideally understand is, what is it about some deals that is really low on friction and high on speed, and what are the characteristics of that? Can we maybe just target that ICP or that use case? You really want to test for that deal path separation, because you'll find that some deals, oh my gosh, they have X characteristic, this one's going to take forever, we still might not get it in the end. If that's the case, then maybe you don't prospect there. Maybe you need to improve your solution there. So that's number 3 within revenue. We've got 2 more. Once again, the founder is back. Can you close deals without your founder and CEO? This is particularly something you see in B2B, but what you really want to do is have the ability to convert, not only without price incentive, but you really want to be able to do so without just one individual who's your star. You want to see the system, the team get the deal done without the founder. If you were to look at this in a B2C case, you need to ask yourself, can we do a campaign and a go-to-market that we develop strategically, creatively, and execute with the right triggers and the right loops without the input of the CEO or the founder who had that sort of marketing perspective? So that's how it kind of varies into B2C. The last test you can do for this key question around predictable growth is the repeatability of the process. I think what you're really trying to identify here is how revenue gets attributed to deals and how sales goes to offers in B2C. But really, do you require a lot of customization and bespoke effort to get revenue? Or where is this repeatability where we don't have to do much customization? Actually, the standard offer works well within these conditions. If you can start to isolate that and test for that, then you really are starting to achieve the higher order, the high performance of growth. Because if you think about it, they like your price, you got a predictable sales cycle, clarity on deal paths, and you can certainly execute without the founder. Now you just really lean into the repeatability of 80% fixed, very small amount customization, and you really do have the ability to come back to this question: how do we grow predictably? So what you can see here is 15 ideas to isolate very specific things that make up a system of growth. So you've got demand at the top, conversion in the middle, and that revenue engine at the bottom. This is a fantastic way for you to isolate what is it that's contributing to growth and to move away from just ad hoc superstar sales to a growth system. So whether you're B2B or B2C, I hope you've enjoyed all these free tools and all these tests that you can do to grow predictably. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.